for the guys that go against him unless they double or triple team him.
Joe, we started by grading Shedeur Sanders. What grade would you give him for yesterday?
That's a tough one because, the grading scale for a rookie in his first start is going to be obviously a sliding scale.
It's
not
that
going to be the same
scale,
as if
yes.
Right.
All right. So I would say an A. I mean, because when I looked at what I wanted to see from him,
we're going to do our work on the quarterback market. It's too important of a position, and it's something that has to be solidified. I can't sit here and tell you today, whether the solution or the starter in 2026 is internal or external, but it's something that we're going to work through.
A guy who has not produced a quarterback in 6 years. I thought the owner came off
crafting a game plan for Shedeur, and I thought Shedeur did a really good job making the necessary improvements and making a big step in the right direction to being a great franchise quarterback.
The Cleveland Browns are standing at the most critical crossroads in franchise history. And Joe Thomas just dropped a nuclear truth bomb that should have every executive in Berea scrambling for cover. Because when a Hall of Famer who spent his whole career living inside Browns chaos tells you the truth about how rebuilds actually work, you do not argue, you listen. Joe Thomas did not speak in fluffy motivation. He spoke like a man who has watched this franchise repeat the same mistake for 20 years, and he is tired of it.
And so I think if you do get a head coach, one, don't pick it because it fits Shedeur Sanders. Pick him because you think he's a great head coach and you think he's a great culture builder and a great leader.
Before we break this down, hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications because this coaching search and the Shedeur Sanders debate is about to get ugly, and we are going to cover every piece of it. Joe Thomas is not some random former player doing hot takes for clicks. This is an 11-time Pro Bowler, a guy who played 10,000 straight snaps, a guy who protected quarterbacks who ranged from competent to catastrophic. He played for 9 different head coaches in 11 seasons. He has seen every rebuild plan, every philosophy, every fake promise, every new regime that swore it was different and then turned into the same story. So when Joe Thomas speaks on the Browns' head coaching search, the entire city should treat it like a warning label. And his message is simple but brutal. Do not hire a head coach based on the quarterback. Do not build the whole plan around a quarterback who has not proven he is the franchise. And do not marry your future to a Shedeur Sanders storyline just because the internet is loud about him.
So I'd play for Baltimore because they've got a better quarterback.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh is going to be in a lot of trouble right now because I think it's pretty clear that Aaron Rodgers is not going to be there. He's probably going to retire, and they've got an overpriced old.
This whole conversation started with a hypothetical that exposed a deeper point. Joe Thomas was asked if he had to choose between playing for the current Pittsburgh Steelers or the Baltimore Ravens, which would he pick? And in the middle of answering, he casually dropped fictional quarterback scenarios like Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. The details are not the point. The point is what he was really highlighting. Teams can crumble fast when leadership changes. The Steelers are the ultimate symbol of stability. If you even imagine an era where their identity shifts, if you even imagine a world where Mike Tomlin steps down after a long run of never having a losing season, you start to see how fragile success really is. And that is where Cleveland needs to pay attention.
It's hard for me to say yes or no because, one, I don't think that you want to hire a head coach based on his fit with Shedeur Sanders because I don't think Shedeur has done enough yet to say he's definitely our franchise quarterback.
Because Joe Thomas sees the warning signs that the Browns have ignored for decades. You do not build around uncertainty. You do not build a coaching philosophy around a quarterback who might not even be on the roster in 2 years. And you do not hire a head coach simply because he fits one player. That is the trap. And right now, Cleveland is flirting with that trap because every conversation keeps circling back to one name. Shedeur Sanders. The Browns are interviewing candidates. Names are floating everywhere. You hear Tommy Rees as the in-house option. You hear Brian Flores as a defensive leader. Then a big name like Mike McDaniel becomes available, and suddenly fans start dreaming about offensive fireworks. And the whole vibe becomes this: who works best with Shedeur? Joe Thomas shut that down with surgical precision.
So I think that Shedeur still has an opportunity to prove that he can play within the structure of an offense and he can throw with timing and get rid of some of those bad habits, like always putting the ball in his left.
He basically said you do not pick the coach to match the quarterback. You pick the coach to build the culture. Then you develop the quarterback inside that culture. That line should be plastered on every wall inside the Browns facility. Because Cleveland has done this backwards forever. They chase the quarterback, then they chase the coach for the quarterback, then they chase a new quarterback for the coach, then they fire everyone and pretend it is a fresh start. Joe Thomas is telling them, stop doing that. Now here is what makes this so interesting. Joe Thomas is not saying Shedeur Sanders is trash. He is not saying cut him. He is not saying he cannot be good. He is being realistic about what Shedeur is right now versus what the hype machine has turned him into. Shedeur started half a season. He showed flashes. He also showed limitations. The athleticism concerns are real. There are decision-making inconsistencies on tape. There are pocket habits that need real coaching. Joe Thomas pointed out specific stuff that matters: the drifting backward in the pocket, the habit of always switching the ball to his left hand when scrambling. Those are not funny quirks. Those are real coaching points that get you stripped in the NFL. But Thomas also made a crucial point that the media war in Cleveland keeps ignoring. Shedeur did not get real practice time as the starter. He was thrown into game situations without the steady developmental reps that let quarterbacks break bad habits and build NFL timing. That is not an excuse. That is context. You cannot expect perfect mechanics and perfect rhythm from a young quarterback who did not get the full starter ramp-up.
I really liked Mike McDaniel. I thought he did a great job early on, especially when he was in Miami. I think he's maybe a little bit of an acquired taste, right?
Yeah.
He's got a very different, unique offense.
So what does that mean? It means Shedeur might improve a lot with structure, but it also means you cannot make him the entire foundation of your coaching hire before he proves it for a full year. That is what Joe Thomas is warning against. This is where his bigger theme comes in. Culture matters more than scheme right now. Cleveland does not need an offensive wizard who is married to a specific system. Cleveland needs a leader who establishes standards, builds identity, creates an environment where young players develop the right way. And yes, that includes Shedeur. If the Browns want to actually find out what they have in him, they need a real development environment. Not chaos, not uncertainty, not constant mixed messaging. The coordinator question is huge here.
I'd like Tomlin for two reasons. One, I think he's probably done more with less throughout his career than John Harbaugh has done. And then two, I think that he is an incredible motivator, and I would certainly love to hear.
Tommy Rees is in-house. Does he have the gravitas to mold a franchise quarterback? Can he build an offense that fits NFL speed and NFL details? Can he build answers when defenses adjust? Those are fair questions. And the truth is, nobody knows yet. Then there is the Mike McDaniel idea. Joe Thomas gave McDaniel credit for early success in Miami, but he was brutally honest about fit. McDaniel's systems require specific personnel, speed, space, timing, route execution at a very high level. Do the Browns have that right now? No. Jerry Jeudy is inconsistent. The receiving room needs a real rebuild. The offense does not look like the type of machine that McDaniel designs. And more importantly, McDaniel is not known as the culture enforcer type that Cleveland desperately needs right now. Cleveland needs standards, not vibes. Then the conversation turns into the fantasy that every Browns fan keeps whispering. What about Mike Tomlin? What about John Harbaugh? There was even a poll, almost 50-50. Which legend would you want? Both are championship-level coaches. Both instantly change how the league views your organization. Both would make Cleveland credible overnight. Joe Thomas played along with the discussion, and his answer revealed what he values: doing more with less. That is the Browns' reality. They're not the Ravens with consistent front office excellence. They're not the Steelers with decades of stability. They are Cleveland. They need a coach who squeezes every ounce out of imperfect rosters. Tomlin fits that image. His motivational ability matters in a city that has been beaten down by losing. He keeps standards. He keeps teams competitive. He is the kind of leader Cleveland has not had.
From an X's and O's standpoint, like, Kyle's the smartest offensive mind I've ever been around, but he's also not a yeller and a screamer. And so sometimes as fans, we just always equate a guy that's screaming and, blowing a gasket on the sideline with being the culture builder.
But Thomas also poured cold water on the dream. He does not think Tomlin is coming. He thinks Tomlin goes to media, CBS or Fox money. 1 day a week, no stress, no roster problems. Same with Harbaugh. Why would either legend want to start a rebuild in their 60s? Why would they leave stability to walk into Browns chaos and bet on a quarterback situation that is still uncertain? That is the reality Cleveland has to accept. So where does that leave the Browns? Joe Thomas's answer is not flashy, but it is the truth. Get the process right, not the name. Find the best leader available, the best culture builder, someone who creates non-negotiable standards, someone players respect, someone who can develop young talent and hold veterans accountable. Then build the offensive infrastructure underneath him, the staff, the coordinator, the QB coach, the scheme that can evolve. Then and only then you decide what quarterback fits. Because if you hire the coach only to match Shedeur, and then Shedeur is not elite, you just wasted your hire, and you start over again. That is exactly what Cleveland has been doing. Joe Thomas even brought up Kyle Shanahan in a way that matters. People call Shanahan an offensive genius, but Thomas played for him in Cleveland and saw something different. Shanahan built culture through intelligence and accountability. He gave players a plan that put them in position to succeed, then demanded perfect execution. That is leadership. That is culture, not just play design. Cleveland needs to find their version of that, not copy another team, not chase a trendy name. Find what works for this city in this roster. Now, the draft also matters. If the Browns take a quarterback early in the first round, then that is your answer on Shedeur. He becomes the backup, the project, the insurance policy, and the new coach will build around the new pick. If the Browns do not take one, then Shedeur becomes the path, the development plan, the starter competition, the bet. Joe Thomas is basically saying, do not let the hype make that decision for you. Make the decision based on the full structure of your team. Because Cleveland is full of talented players who have been wasted by bad structure. That is what his career was. Great players, bad stability, bad identity, constant resets. That is why the head coach hire matters more than the quarterback hype. The coach sets the tone. The coach defines the identity. The coach builds the environment where quarterbacks either develop or die. Joe Thomas lived the version where quarterbacks died, and his message is clear. Do not get cute. Do not overthink it. Do not marry yourself to a quarterback who has not proven anything. Build the culture first, then the quarterback will either grow into it or you will clearly know you need a different answer. The Browns have one shot to get this right. Andrew Berry's job might depend on it. The next 5 years of this franchise definitely depends on it. Joe Thomas just handed them the blueprint. Now we find out if anyone in Berea is actually listening.